Hello and welcome to the Heart and Life podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Rogers. In this trailer episode, I'll explain a little bit about who I am, what I hope for this podcast, who's going to be involved, and where we're headed from here. First, a little bit about me. Once again, my name is Brandon Rogers, and I'm an elder in the North Alabama Conference of the Global Methodist Church. I was ordained in 2023 as part of the first group of ordinands in the North Alabama GMC. Prior to that, I served as a licensed local pastor in the UMC for about 6 years. Now, I don't want to spend too much time talking about myself because that's definitely not what this podcast is all about. But just to give you a sense of who I am, ministry for me is something of a second career. For almost 17 years prior to becoming a licensed pastor in the UMC, I worked as an accountant, most of that time working in a university setting. As I record this, my wife and I are fast approaching our 25th wedding anniversary. We have two awesome daughters and one occasionally sweet but mostly cantankerous and obnoxious little dog. I'm a sports fan, a hiker, and a reader. And that's probably enough, or maybe even more than you ever wanted to know about me. So let's talk about why I'm doing this. There are really two interrelated reasons I decided to begin this podcast. First, I find so much inspiration in hearing the stories of what God is doing in people's lives. And second, I love to learn and grow. Putting those things together, I know that the people who make up the North Alabama Conference have so many stories to tell about what God is doing in their respective contexts. And I want to know about them. And I want you, the listener, to know about them too. So the goal of this podcast is pretty simple. Through conversations with folks both inside and outside our conference, we will seek to encourage, equip, and edify the people called Methodist in North Alabama and to the ends of the earth. To that end, in the coming weeks, you'll hear interviews with people who are doing creative and exciting ministry in our conference. You'll hear from conference leaders about all the great things going on, and you'll hear from folks outside our conference who can bring us unique perspectives on ministry. Now, you may be wondering about the title of this podcast, Heart and Life. The phrase holiness of heart and life is very often associated with the founder of Methodism, John Wesley. He preached about a life of inner purity, a holiness of heart that would be reflected in the way one lives, a holiness of life. The work of the Holy Spirit in our lives leads us to grow in holy love, to move towards perfect love. We often refer to this process as sanctification. As we've already said, the goal of this podcast is to encourage, equip, and edify believers. In other words, to help us all grow towards perfect love, or to put it even yet another way, to grow in holiness of heart and life. Now, if you're listening and you're not part of the North Alabama Conference, I hope you'll stick around. While most of our conversations will involve people in our geographic footprint, I truly believe we all have so much to learn from each other, and I hope you'll find these conversations worthwhile, even if you're not in North Alabama and even if you're not part of the Global Methodist Church. So to sum up, if you're part of the North Alabama Conference of the Global Methodist Church, this podcast is for you. And if you're not part of our conference, well, this podcast is for you too. In the coming weeks, you'll get to hear from so many of the amazing people of North Alabama. I hope and I believe we'll all learn together. Maybe somebody out there is doing ministry in a unique way that you've never thought about. Or maybe you've been thinking about trying something and you'll hear from somebody who's already doing it. I just believe that we have so many spirit-filled, incredibly smart and talented people in our conference, and my goal is to help share what they're doing. Maybe it inspires us to start something similar, or maybe it will ignite our imaginations to dream up something that hasn't been done yet. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I'll add that this is something new for me. While I listen to several podcasts regularly, I've never attempted to put one together. However, after talking with some folks who know me and hearing encouragement from them, I made the decision to move forward with this podcast because I believe that having these conversations can be a blessing to our conference. Now, if you listen very long, you're going to quickly realize most often I'm not the smartest guy in the room. But my hope and my prayer is that through this podcast, we'll all get to learn from some of the smartest and most faithful people around. So get ready, North Alabama, for Heart and Life. Episodes will begin dropping in early January 2025, with new episodes hopefully coming every 7 to 10 days. As we get ready to close out this short trailer episode, I do hope you'll like and subscribe to this podcast and that you'll help us spread the word. Oh, and if you know somebody who's doing great things in ministry in our area, reach out to me and let me know. I'd love to have a conversation with them. Well, that's going to just about do it for our time today. May the holy love of God continue to transform your heart and life. God bless. Thanks for listening to the Heart and Life podcast. The music for today's episode is Genoa by 50 Sound.